Hey, I'm excited to welcome you to the first episode of Buhurt People, an interview series of fascinating people around the world of armored combat sports. In the pilot episode, you will meet Lauryn Ashley, national team captain of Team USA 2024. I hope you will enjoy this, and if you do, give it thumbs up for more, and remember to subscribe to get notified if further episodes come up. And lastly, please give comments down in below. Who would you like to see featured next?
I went to, actually, I was in Helsinki in March. And because I was up in Sweden, I was there for vacation. I know going to Sweden for vacation in March is not really what most people do, but I did have stopover in Helsinki, and it was crazy to see where in Finland there was in March, it was still very much snow everywhere, where Sweden it had been a little bit more warmed up, but I was like, this is why they call it there was Santa Claus everywhere. I was like, this really looks like where Santa Claus is from. So it's cool.
So how was it for you, Finland?
Cold, but nice. I think they thought it was aesthetically beautiful. And the people were really nice. And there was lots of plant-based options to eat and drink since I don't do dairy. So I was like, the Finnish people were very nice. So I was like, I'm coming back here. I liked the way that it was set up. I was only there for a couple hours within my time, but I was like, oh, Finland's cool. So
yeah. Just in case, if it's not just polite talk, etc. If you really end up coming, and if you feel like it, I'm happy to accommodate you at our house.
Nice.
We live quite near the central Helsinki, 15
awesome.
minutes ride.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
I'll keep that in my back pocket and use that one day because I know Finland is one of the places I want to go. It'd be cool to train with Rusa and her team. I know that the Finnish women's team is a team to be reckoned with, and that's one of I haven't had the opportunity to fight them yet, so I want to one day.
Yeah.
So I might take you up on that.
Good. All right, but hey, how about if we go to the this has been interview already so far. I've been asking about your experiences of Finland and so on, but let's go to the gist of things. For the audience, for the record, the discussion of ours will be divided into 3 sections, basically. We will get to know you, Lauryn, about your history in Buhurt, your personality, perhaps, who you are as a person. And then we will discuss the US Buhurt scene, kind of organizational stuff, how things work there. With several dozens of countries competing in Buhurt, I think it's fair to say that none of them are same. So there's very much differences, and it's very interesting to hear how in US things work. How is the team formed? How are certain decisions made, etc. And thirdly, maybe in regards to my civil occupation in human resources, people operations, as I call it, about leadership. You were a team captain for Team USA in World Championships in Mexico 2024. So it's tremendous opportunity to hear your ideas of leadership and maybe learn something, and at least I'm very curious about the perhaps differences how we see things. And for the audience, if you feel that you are mostly interested in specific part of this interview, one of the three, or maybe two only of the three, feel free to jump to a specific section of it. Brief history. So this is what I call Buhurt People, but potentially start of a series of interviews, maybe one of its kind, if this doesn't work at all. But I think people are very interesting in general, and Buhurt people are very interesting to Buhurt people. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking of interviewing interesting people in different countries, in different roles. And since the idea grew up in Mexico last spring, where you, Lauryn, was representing USA, and you hands down won the whole competition in that World Championships context, meaning that US won the most gold medals, and you got this ancient shield as a token for it. I thought that you would be the very nice candidate for a person to be visiting the first episode.
Awesome. No, and I'm very honored, if you will, to be one of the first people. I think this is a great topic to talk about, being as not only I one of the first people you talk about, but was the first woman to receive captain of Team USA. So I know that it's a many first, so it'll be a good kickoff on that. So very excited to kind of be here and talk about that experience with you.
Good to hear. And since you brought it up, obviously, with your kind of a person, or pretty much with anyone, there would be huge amounts of opportunities, a lot of interesting topics to talk about. Yeah. And that gender equality and women in Buhurt, etc., would possibly be also a very potential topic, maybe for further episodes or so.
Oh, absolutely.
But today we are going to focus in US Buhurt scene, leadership, and you, Lauryn.
Yeah, for sure.
So, without further ado, who are you?
Who am I? That is a very, I think, a loaded question. So on paper, my name is Lauryn Ashley. I am based out of Dallas, Texas, and I fight on a team called the Dallas Mythics. We are the #1 female team in the US. I was formerly the captain of that team. Actually, I just switched off captain leadership. We do a rotating captain, so we'll do elections every year. And that gives every different fighter an opportunity to lead the team. So, but that's kind of who I am in the Buhurt scene. I'm also I'm on the AMCF, which stands for the American Medieval Combat Federation. It is the acting agency for IMCF in the America. I'm on the board of directors there, and I happen to be the vice president also of the organization. With Cyrus. He's our we call him our Buhurt Obama, because he's the president. But yeah, so that's very loosely of introduction of who I am. I would say if we want to go in either further, I'm a sister, oldest of 4 children. I actually, before I got into Buhurt, I was really big into musical theater. So I did a lot of shows and productions. I was in the last production I was in The Little Mermaid. And I had to learn how to heely. And for those of you who don't know, they're like shoes with wheels on the bottom of them. And you would think, oh, that's easy. No, it's not, because it's just like skateboarding. You have to like find balance. And then you add like singing and dancing into that. And so it was it's very interesting to do, but it was a skill that I got to learn because the original Broadway cast was on Heelys, which helped like the mermaids and stuff look like they were swimming more. So that was fun. Yeah, so I did a lot of musical theater, and I like to travel. Fun fact would be I did a study abroad in Dubai when I was in college. So I was in Dubai for a bit, and I met Floyd Mayweather in a Foot Locker in the Dubai Mall. He was there, and he came in and he closed down the store. It's very short, but I think you can be that short if you can fight that good. So, and that's in all aspects of fighting. Like even Buhurt, I feel like some of the roughest, toughest fighters are the littlest guys out there. So, but, I feel like I'm rambling at this point.
That's
But
good. That's
yeah, so
interesting. Like even though there are various ways of getting to know Buhurt, to see or hear about it, but how did you come up to try it yourself? How did you end up that yes, this is my thing?
that's a great question. So originally saw some advertising that our local the gym that we train at had put up online on social media. This was years ago. So I got into Buhurt in the fall of 2019. So yeah, I think August of 2019. Um, and we had seen some like things on social media, and the guy I was dating at the time was like, I want to check it out. Will you come with me? You know, like, I don't want to just show up to this new gym, but I was like, okay, fine. And immediately I remember there were two women who were in the class, and they came up to me and they were like, oh, you should try this. Like we fight here, and we put on armor. And one of them had showed me a helmet where she was like, look, this is a dent. Like I got hit in the head with a pole arm here. And I was like, oh my goodness, you guys are crazy. But then I showed up for another practice and watched, and then I went, well, I don't know, this kind of looks fun. And so then I put armor on, and I played a lot of sports when I was younger. So I did like softball predominantly, softball for like 15 years. And then I also did some soccer and basketball. So it was nice finding uh, a competitive, like organized team sport again. So I remember just putting the armor on and being like, oh no, this is awesome. Like I can get down with this. So, like it's the only place that I can hit someone with an axe and not go to jail. So so it was it's been a really fun ride, something I very much enjoy.
I know the feeling. In during these, if I calculate correctly, 5 years or so, in what categories do you usually fight in, and what categories have you tried?
Yeah. So most recently, I've been focusing on more of the melee side, the team fights of it. But historically, I've done all aspects. When I first started, I did longsword and pole arm quite frequently in dueling. I've even done pro fights, and was a big proponent of pushing fives for women in the US. But I do work a corporate job. I actually, it's one of the most interesting things is I work marketing for a company called Tetra Pak, which people who are listening might know who they are. You know, they do packaging. If you're buy a milk that shelf stable, that's Tetra Pak. But being in marketing and having a very busy life has made it to where, you know, I don't get as much practice for like pro fights and duels or things. So most recently I've been taking the time that I do have and focusing mainly on like the team aspect of it. And that was one of the things that I prioritized while I was captain of my team of, hey, I want to focus on really bringing us together like a sports team, developing plays. And so that's been like my focus for a while. For the past 2 years has been just heavily melee training. And I think it's really paid off with the fact that the team has gone to such great lengths that they have. But yeah, I really enjoy kind of all aspects of the sport. And I think that between like duels and pro fights and just different disciplines, there's nothing here that really can keep you bored. So if you want to find something new, there's always something here for you. And I think that's probably one of the most interesting aspects of this sport because of that. So who knows, maybe in the next year or so, I'll have a little bit more time on my hands and I can rededicate it to pro fighting more. Every time I watch a pro fight, I'm like, oh, I want to get back in there. Oh, I want to get back in there. Because I've been using all of your skills from grappling and tactical, strategic that you really bring in from the team fights. That part of a pro fight I really like. So hopefully in 2025, I can get back into it. So.
Sounds good. Regarding how would I put it? There are several ways to enjoy Buhurt. How would you think yourself? Are you a competitive person, or are you in for the kicks, or like what about that aspect? What is driving you? What is giving you energy in there?
That's a twofold question because I am a very, very competitive person. So there is definitely the competitive part of me that comes out that Buhurt has been really great at in looking from like a strategic and tactical advantages and being able to play on the strengths of your team. But I think that the Buhurt community also does a really good job of presenting yourselves with a community of people you just like to be around. So it's kind of like you get that community inclusiveness, and not only do you get, yes, I get to win and I get to go out and fight and really be competitive and play with other people, but then at the same time you're having a fun time, like you're doing it with the people you love, with your team, and that brings another aspect to it. I think that even though that, yes, it is a competitive sport, you get like the altruistic bonding experience with the people involved in it. And they say Buhurt is love for a reason, so it's true.
So hearing that you are a competitive person and you mentioned that you get to win in that, what would you say are your biggest achievements, or what things you are most proud of in your Buhurt career?
This great question. So one of the things I think one of my biggest achievements is, I'll say first starting with become captain of my own personal team, like getting the opportunity to be the captain for the past 2 years was so rewarding. And then during that time, I also, I believe last year, 2 years, actually, no, it was 2 years ago. There's a fighter, and I believe her name is Rachel. She just got married, so I don't remember what her last name is, but she's out of England. And we pushed to get women's fives for IMCF. And so I know that she had reached out to a bunch of teams, female teams, to really kind of help us get fives. And I know the US was one of them. And I was like, let's do it. And so I believe there were 6 other countries that were pivotal to it. And we all kind of we wrote up a statement and sent it into the board. And now we have fives at IMCF, which was great. I know that Spain was the first year that we got to do it. And my team actually won the spot to be Team USA that year for Belmonte. But we had actually we made the decision to go to the Buhurt League World Cup in Prague, because in terms of the amount of teams that were showing up, there was a better fighting opportunity for a lower cost there. So we went to that one. However, we got the opportunity, we won the spot for Team USA for this year again, and so we were like, all right, well, we're not passing it up this time. We're Team USA. So we already made the commitment to go to Mexico. So being part of Team USA, I think is another great achievement. I mean, like, I've got my personal medals. I've gotten gold in different dueling categories, and I've had the opportunity in the past to be the select duelist that we send over to represent the US. I know in 2021 and 2022, it was Poland and Romania. Those were the 2 years that when we were supposed to go to Romania and supposed to go to Poland. I was the national representative for polearm as well, which I ended up being in Mexico by just a chance. It's been a minute since I even picked up polearm, but our duelist who won that spot and competed and got that wasn't able to go. And the second and third place person couldn't go either. So, like, with a week's notice, I got to stepped up and said, all right, fine, well, I'll represent the US so we have somebody. But I've had actually surprisingly a lot of different opportunities with Buhurt, and I think probably my biggest achievement, in my opinion, would be just the work of creating a team culture for my fighting team that is positive in a way that we're continue to improve, and we really have that thirst of getting better, being a team, and fighting, and just being the best that we can together. So, like, yes, medals are nice. I got a whole medal rack at my house with all my gold medals, but I think that's probably my more of, like, that's more important to me than a medal. But I do like medals. As I said, I'm a competitive person, so there's a reason why we took home the most of Mexico this year. I said, hey, if that's the goal, if we have to bring home the most, let's take home the most medals so I can get that cool shield. So, and I got my shield, and it's on my wall. So
it is indeed very nice shield, and maybe I'll edit for purposes of this video photo at this point to show to audience what it is about. I recall the moment when you were holding it proudly, and well deserved.
I'm so excited. Yeah, they pointed out there was a hole in it where a crossbow bolt went through. That was the most exciting thing. So as soon as I found that out, everybody I was going up to, I was like, this is where I got shot with the crossbow. This is so cool. I think that's one of the cool things about, well, probably cool is the wrong word. I could think that's probably one of the unfortunate things about America is we don't have, after a certain after like what, 17 something, there's not really much to go on. We don't have the cool castles and medieval relics that the European side gets to have and enjoy. So when we get moments to see that, I think we geek out a little too much. We certainly thought the shield was cool. Everybody passed it around and got their pictures with it. So
yeah, congratulations once more.
Thank you. I can't take all the credit for that. It's definitely a team effort. I just got to be a figurehead, stand there and look pretty, and yell when I needed to.
Indeed, that's actually a great stepping stone towards the next topic about team effort. How was it that, like, obviously USA is a huge country and with a lot of teams, a lot of fighters. So how does it actually, towards the World Championships, how is it decided, like, who gets to represent the country?
Yeah, that's So we typically do a national qualifier event. And that's one thing I have my hands on all the time, just being on the AMCF board, because that's put on by the American Medieval Combat Federation as a purpose to select Team USA. So all of the fighters who play in the IMCF rule set and want a chance to represent Team USA come sign up for this qualifier event. And we have duelist teams. Everybody who falls into each different category has the opportunity to come and essentially fight for their spot to show that, you know, we are the best. We deserve to go represent the country. So the way that we break it down is we have the first 4 men's teams. So you'll have first place, second place, third place, fourth place. And like you said, the US is massive. And I don't think a lot of people realize just how large this country is. And so there's so many fighters, so many teams, and we have them show up and they fight down in their brackets. And the first 4 teams on the men's side, they get that makes up Team USA. Typically, the first place team gets to pick the team that they want to be. It most of the time is always the 5s team. And then second place team typically goes for the 10s, and then third and fourth is the 16s. So we break it down that way. That way everybody kind of gets a chance, and you're not overworking some of your fighters, because where there will be occasionally a couple fighters on the 5s teams that fight on the 10s or fight in the 16s. That way we have fresh fighters who are not getting burnt out, and a full team of people to come and represent the US. So then from there, and on the women's side, we do that too now. We take the first 2 teams, first place and second place, because now we have 3s and 5s for the women. So first place on the women gets to decide they want to be the 3s team or the 5s team, and then second place gets that one. So we've kind of adopted that same kind of mindset on that. And then the duelist, obviously, duelists and pro fights, they work up and win their spot just the same as a melee teams would do. So after that, once everybody quite literally fights for their spot, they have, these are our finalists. This is Team USA. This is the team that's going to go represent the United States and hopefully bring back gold. And from there, once we have Team USA, we have all the teams. So each team, the men's 5, the 10, they will nominate a person who they believe is a good fit for team captain. So everybody will nominate, and the duelist will get together. We have like a duelist captain. Everybody has their own respective captains of their fighting team. And this process is typically like done by them to be like, all right, who are we nominating? And this year, we were going to nominate, my team was going to nominate one of our coaches who he fought. His name is Brett Skinner. I'm sure people have heard of Brett. He great melee fighter, amazing pro fighter. He took home one of our pro fighting championships for at IMCF. I think he was super heavyweight. Yes, or heavyweight, one of those two. I should know that.
I should also remember that. I should also remember that, because I have like one of his fights recorded on my channel as well.
He's a great guy to watch fight, and even better to be trained by him. So he trains our women's team, and I think that has helped us a lot with our skill level. But I could sit here and talk about Brett Skinner all day. But we originally wanted to nominate him, and I remember my team that, well, why don't we nominate you? I was like, oh, I don't know if I want, like, if I have the time to do that, or if I would want to do that. And then I remember being at a Christmas party for work, and one of the guys there is a Buhurt guy, and he was on Team USA, the 5s. And he went, like, honestly, I'd vote for you. Like, I think you should. Like, I think you should, like, take that nomination, because I'd vote for you. Like, I think that you'd make a great leader, and it's about time we have, like, a woman as our captain. And so I listened to him, and I was like, you know what, whatever. We'll see. We'll okay, fine. You guys can nominate me, and we'll see what the results stay. So once each team nominates a person, then the entire Team USA gets to vote on who they want as their captain. So it'll be like, all right, you guys have nominated A, B, C, and D. And then they send out a voting link and everybody votes. And I won that year. So I was team captain of Team USA, and it was a huge honor and a very I think a very it was a responsibility that I think kind of falls onto that everybody takes a little bit differently. So it was really cool to be in that role. Very exhausting, but yeah, they put a lot of faith in me, and they said, "Hey, we want you," and I said, "All right, I'll make you guys proud." So.
Speaking of exhausting task, we will surely discuss that a bit in detail when talking about the leadership in the final section of this interview. But how does it go from there? Like, very interesting. I'm so happy that I asked about it. Very interesting process. But then you have the Team USA, you have the captain. Mm-hmm. What happens next?
Yeah, so every captain has done it a little bit different, and we have the capacity to essentially approach it however we want. And one of the things that I'm a big believer of, and this is how I do a lot of my management style in my professional job. But I always say that I know what my strengths are and I know what my weaknesses are. And to me, a good leader is somebody who knows, like, when they don't have the right answer, or they don't know the answer, or that they're not the right person for something, but also then is competent enough to be able to be like, well, I'm not good at this, but this person is. We're going to leverage on the strengths in that. So I knew that even though it was just to Mexico, and most of Team USA lived in Texas, it was still a big task of everything that we needed to get done, right? From logistics to getting people there to ordering tabards. Like, it's not something that one person can take on their own. So what I did is I was able to leverage a lot, not only on the board of directors from the AMCF because of my personal relationships and knowing there, but also, the board is like, hey, we want the Team USA to be as most successful as possible. So we had a lot of people who would come to me and say, like, hey, I'm good at X, Y, and Z. If you need anybody to help with this, blah, 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 like, hey, I'm good at logistics, or I'm good at organizing this. If you need help with that, I can take that off your plate. And came to a time I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I worked with a little small team of people that I had. I was like, you're my like logistics coordinator, and we would be in contact, and they would be the ones to really go out and do the grunt of that and making sure teams are taken care of. Or I had someone that was like, oh, you're like my rules and strategic guy, representative, coordinator, however you want to call yourself, that like we'll make sure that we know the rules, we know everything. That way, if any call comes up, we know we're good, and we know that we know our stuff. So I really utilized a lot of different talents within the Buhurt community to really like make sure that everything got done, whatever that capacity was. And I think most of my work personally was actually showing up to the event. I know most of the groundwork there was in-person stuff at the event, but a lot of the stuff behind the scenes, I was able to really have a lot of help within the community. And I think that's great, where you have a community of people who have a lot of talents outside of, fighting people with swords. And not only the talent, but the passion to want to like give back to the community and make it successful. And I think Team USA is one of those opportunities where it's like you kind of step away from your identity of being like, oh, I'm from this team, I'm from this team, I'm from this team. And it's like, okay, for the next couple of months, we're all on the same team. So we all have the same goal. We work together. And so people that you typically fight across in the list are now like, hey, we're all on the same team, and we want Team USA to be, and we want them to win, we want them to be successful. So it was cool to see just how many people like offered help and such. And so that helped with the logistics and getting everybody prepared and ready to go. So it was made my job a lot easier by doing it that way. And I recommend that. Some people might be more organized and can do it themselves. Hey, that's great. I would recommend not doing that. You shouldn't have to do it. You're very capable. Leverage on your friends. They want to help you, I promise. So that's what I would say to that.
I couldn't agree more. Like, it definitely is the form of the best self-confidence to actually admit that you are not capable of doing it all by yourself, and indeed like playing your strengths.
Oh, absolutely. Because at this point I'm like, hey, I'm good at this and that, but I know either time or attention span, going back to that, only 40 seconds, I really gotta leverage that. And I'm like, hey, I didn't get to be this position by myself. Like, you guys put me here. So you put me here, and I'm gonna utilize that, and I'm gonna listen to you and really find a way to give us all the best experience possible. And that was really what I was focusing on, of, how do we go in, do the thing that we love, everything else aside, how do we go and get to fight with our friends. So yeah, it was a nice experience on that part, because most of the big stuff was like, all right, now there's the things that only I can do, and which is all of it showing up during the event. So being able to take a lot of that off using my a lot of my friends and colleagues in the community was nice.
Very interesting. I was actually looking forward to asking you about of the role of a Team US captain there. How is it very practical, or is it just like inspirational, etc.? But you kind of answered that to a certain extent already. That's very interesting in my opinion. And you mentioned that like most of the work was before the competitions, but could you tell me a bit more about in the field, in the actual, you've already come to the venue and the competitions are going. In your case, what is the captain doing?
Well, in the heat of the moment, when we are there square doing it, to me, I see the captain is the face of the team. And that's one thing, though, I really stressed, and it was funny. The team yell. They nicknamed me Mom. Obviously, they were like, Mom says no, we can't do that. But I was very much like, hey, I'm no nonsense when it comes to like being a good sportsman. Like, that is one thing I have no nonsense about, especially when you're on a world stage where an individual fighter's behavior can impact like the full team. It's like, okay, if you get 2 yellow cards or something, like the team can get a red card, and like that's no. And I was really big on, if you are here from the US, you are on Team USA, you are representing Team USA, and you will be on your best behavior in the sense of on this world platform that we have. And I know that when it comes to Buhurt, the US is fairly in its infancy. I will say this in comparison, it hasn't been in the US as long as it has been in some other countries, but we are doing such amazing things with the way that we do the sport here. And I wanted the opportunity to really showcase that, that, hey, like, this new era of American Buhurt is here, and the US are nice people, are people we want to fight with. So that was a big thing that I really pushed is, being the face of the team, making sure that they were prepared, and then also having someone who was passionate to advocate. I think that when you're in this position, at the end of the day, like the fighters want to see somebody that they know has their best interest in heart. I know that in the past there was talks about like team captains who didn't really do anything, like they didn't even go to the matches to watch, and like that type of stuff like hurts my heart, because I'm like, you're the captain, you're the face. Like, not only do you have to be the person that contests things, but you should want to be there. You should want to be watching your team and watching them win and like represent your country in any capacity. So that was my big focus when I was there. Now, there was a lot of challenges, long days, grueling drives up there to get into the mountains. We were there at like 8:30 every day for the captain's meeting, and we weren't getting home till like, by the time you take all your armor off, break it down, and get back in from the mountains into Mexico City, you're not getting home till like 9 p.m. So they were long days, making sure you drink enough water, ate food. So there was always those, practical things that made it challenging. But being present, being there, being seen, and letting my team know that, like, no, I'm here for you. I'm here to advocate for you in whatever way, whether it's screaming good job, whether it's saying, hey, that call was unfair, we need to recount that. And just knowing that they had someone present, always visible as a beacon, a lighthouse, if you will. Because I know it's hard at times when you're like out there fighting and no one else, or especially like the duelists who fought on random days and such in the morning, but making sure that they could look out and see, like, all right, there's our flag, there's my captain, there's my colors. All right, I at least have representation. Like, I'm good. She's got me. So that was really what I wanted to kind of bring to the role of the captain. And I think I have a very unique set of skills to be able to do that. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why the community saw that. And they're like, you were very fitted for this role. So I was very excited to be able to do that. And I enjoyed the ups and the downs. So I enjoyed the cheering, and I enjoyed the having to be like, that is not what you do. Like, that's a wrong call. It did make me feel like not necessarily a teacher, but I understood all the female like basketball coaches where you see them yelling on the sidelines. I was like, man, more of us need to be in here. Women are scary when they're mad. Or like, we can have some serious influence here. Like, more countries need to have female captains. So that was just my take on that, though. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience. I will say that. And it's the more you put into it, the more you can be for your team. I think this is a role that's very selfless. It's not about you as a captain. Like, I know a lot of people could be like, oh yeah, like, I'm the captain, Team USA, and the national captain we're going. But for me, it was more like, I'm here as for the team. Like, it is the biggest responsibility. I don't want to say the biggest burden, but a very big responsibility, because at the end of the day, like, you are putting your team before you. You make sure that everybody there is good, everybody gets to the event site, everybody gets home, and everybody has a good time. So making sure everyone was taken care of too. So it was a very busy event, but it was really rewarding in the ways that it needed to be. I'll say that.
For sure. Regarding skills, you mentioned that you have the certain skill set that you were able to utilize there. For any aspiring coming team captains, what would you say are the most useful skills or characteristics?
Oh, it's a very good question. Active listening would probably be one of my top 3 answers right there, because I think that in order to fully represent a team, and really act in their best interest, like as your representative for that country, or any team in general, right? So this doesn't necessarily have to be like a national team captain, but I think that you have to, one, be able to be a very good listener and realize that leading isn't always about talking or being the center. You need to listen to your fighters. You need to listen to the community and listen to what they want or what they need. Because at the end of the day, like, they're the ones you're doing this for. Without them, you wouldn't have a team. So making sure that their needs are met and that nobody feels like their voice isn't heard. And I think that's probably another good quality to have, is like a relationship management skills, because, you know, a team is a lot of people, especially if you're looking at a national team like Team USA, so massive. But you know, you still have to make sure that everybody feels represented, right? Feels like their contribution is heard. And so having a way to make people feel included, making feel heard, and listening to that aspect, and then knowing when, I think lastly, knowing when to talk and knowing when to be quiet. Because I think that a lot of times there are people who are in leadership positions or captains. They can be, and it's probably a personality thing, right? But I think there are times that a true leader knows when it's like, okay, this is not an issue to push. Like, this is, I know we're heated about this, but this isn't relevant in the scheme of things, and be able to kind of like moderate when it is and when it's not. But also, like, there's a lot of things where I'm like, learn to be quiet and watch what your team can do without you, like, to see how they handle it, and knowing when, like, okay, it is my chance to step in. And this is when I can escalate and use my, I guess, authority as a captain to really finalize things. But most of the time, I think it's just being able to listen to your team's needs, make sure that everybody is heard and gets the chance to have their opportunity. And if you're doing that, I think that you're on your way to success, right? Because at the end of the day, you're in a leadership position, in charge of a lot of individuals who probably have lots of different opinions on how things will go. I know Buhurt people, we're very opinionated, probably some of the most stubborn and can be obnoxious people, but we're also some of the greatest people. And I think that that's what makes it worth it to be in a leadership position, is the people in the community. So don't forget about them, and know that you're in a position to serve them, essentially. Like, I know, like the president, I think we forget about this, and I say we, I mean like the politicians, that, hey, they're there to serve us, not other way around. So in practicality, like, should be making sure that everything that we want is taken care of. And I think that extends to a captain of a team too. You are that focal point, and you need to make sure that, you know, you can listen to concerns, you can have a way about to make everyone feel included, and just know when you're needed. So I'd say that's some good feedback.
In regards to, indeed, leadership external to Buhurt, could you share me some thoughts of yours about similarities and differences about leadership in the civil managerial or leadership position versus kind of this medieval combat sport team?
Well, I will say this, it's a lot easier running a Buhurt team, because when you're looking at tactical advantages of talking in Buhurt, it's a lot easier to be like, yeah, we're just going to go and hit this person and do this. You can't really talk like in corporate life. Unfortunately, things would be a lot easier if they could just be resolved with a Buhurt fight. At the end of the day, I think it's a lot of, when it comes to like people and personalities. So whether you're in a regular job or you're in Buhurt, there's there's always going to be a couple people who are a little bit different. And learning, I think one of the best things that I've applied in any style of leadership is you have to learn the people that you are in charge of or that you lead, right? What makes them passionate, what motivates them, because like what motivates you might be different than someone else. And so once you find out what motivates them or what they care about, it helps you communicate with them better or kind of like drive them, right? So one of the biggest feedbacks I was given in my career was like, not everybody is going to see them dream like you, or not everybody's going to be as inspired as you. And where I agree with that, because, some people approach things differently. I think that there's things that we can do to kind of reduce that cognitive dissonance. So like getting to know people, finding out what drives them, what motivates them, how you can really reach them. And that's one thing I really adapted into my leadership style when I started becoming a captain. One of the things we do with my personal team, the Dallas Mythics, is we do a retreat every year where it's typically in the summer because Texas, it's 1,000,000 degrees in the summer. So we don't really do much fighting in armor during the months of June and July, but we'll do like a retreat where it's like, hey, we come in on Friday, leave on Sunday. So it's like after work type thing. And we bond and we'll do like team dinners and some sort of team building activity. And then we give the opportunity to like meet with the captain and the coach, and where we talk about our goals for the sport, for the team, as a fighter, those type of things. And then we plan out the events that we want to go to. So, and I think it really gives the opportunity to understand and work with people on that individual level, because during those like one-on-ones, we find out like, oh, okay, so some people will be like, yeah, I'm super competitive, like I want to blah, 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 blah. And then you have other people who are like, hey, I'm here to have fun. Like, I just like learning Buhurt. I like doing this. I like that. And it's like, okay, well, once you understand like what people's goals are, it really kind of helps you see how to like make their experience better. And that's one thing that I've done in all aspects of my life. It's just I find it a lot easier to lead people when you take the time to get to know them and find out what makes them tick, because it helps you inspire them or communicate in ways that they're able to understand and pick up. And so that helps with like synergy there. So I would recommend trying that. If you are in a leadership position, try that. I know it can be uncomfortable for people of really trying to get to know someone, or some people talk more. But yeah.
So as a summary, like maybe the two highlights that I'm hearing from your experiences and from your thoughts is that get to know the people and actively listen.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, get to know the people, actively listen. Yep. Because then there are times that way you can get all the information and then do this for the people at the end of the day. Because like I said, they're the ones who put you there. So you got to make sure that you make them happy.
As a huge fan of continuous learning and development, I think feedback loop is essential to improve. You can't learn if you can't get feedback. May I ask, what kind of feedback have you gotten after this amazing trip to Mexico and the competitions?
I got feedback from my team that they don't want me to be the national captain because they didn't like sharing me with everybody else. They were like, no, we didn't get to have you all to ourselves. You had to be dealing with everybody. But I know that was more in jest, where they were like, oh, we didn't get to see you as much. And the afterwards, like I have gotten the feedback is of just still more of like being able to know it's okay to leverage on your team for that. I know at the end of the day, even though I did let a lot of people help me, I'm still one of those people that can be a control freak at times and have to realize that, like, no, it's okay. Like, just let other people do it. So I would say, like, also some feedback would be, this is feedback I'm going to bring to it, is have ways to as someone in this position, especially when you have an event, like a big event like this where you're responsible for everybody. I'd say it's important to, at the end of the day, to have ways to decompress yourself, because it's such an overwhelming role position. You're constantly taking care of other people. People are constantly coming to you feels like every 5 minutes, like calling your name, trying to find you. So it can be really overwhelming. And you can easily get overwhelmed. So having ways to, like, keep yourself grounded or decompressed on that, that's just personal feedback I would give, because I know that at the start of the event, I'm like running on little sleep. We wake up super early. These are long days, especially when the event schedule starts getting behind. You're like, and then everyone's talking to you and you're like, it just feels like a lot, overwhelming. So being able to, like, take care of yourself and have a way to decompress, and then make sure you're continuing to leverage on the people around you, because really by doing that, it will help a lot. So
I think that's certainly good advice for any upcoming new captains, or even existing ones. Some new advice or reminder to take care of yourself as well.
oh, absolutely. That was the one thing I didn't do as big of a job, as good of a job, but that's the one thing I have to thank my team for. They came in so clutch. They went and brought me back. They were bringing snacks, and it was hard because I do I'm vegan, so I eat predominantly plant-based. And as you can imagine, being in Mexico, it was kind of hard for that. Then so I'd have to make sure I had plenty of snacks. So my team, there's pictures of them, like, bringing me, like, fruits and veggies full, like cucumbers and stuff, being like, because I wanted to make sure I was eating and stay hydrated and got out of the sun. So that's one thing you kind of forget, is if you're taking care of all these other people, you got to take care of yourself too. So don't forget to leverage on your team for that aspect as well.
That's actually something, now that you mentioned, with a thing that I actually paid attention at the competitions. Obviously, like roaming around and seeing all the people, that within Team USA, there was continuous encounters where a person was delivering something to another, unexpecting fighter or something, that, have you eaten? Here's this, here's that.
Yeah.
And it seemed like to work rather organically. It didn't feel like organized or something, but just like spontaneous, taking care of each other. I'm coming to final question,
Okay.
which is, do you have anything else to say that you would like to share for the listeners?
Oh my goodness, probably a lot. I can talk forever, like I said.
Me too.
Well, on captain, I would say that I do your best to remember why you're there. Enjoy doing it, and that it's more responsibility than you would think it was. It's definitely an honor to have it, and it was very exciting this year to be there when the USA won all those medals, and to be the one taking home the shield, to show, like, hey, the US is back. We are, we're real contenders in the Buhurt scene, and we love this, and that we're great people. So that's kind of, I was happy to be a part of that and kind of really show on an international stage that this new era of Buhurt, and hope to be back. Actually, we'll be back next year, and it'll be in Houston, so I'll be excited to see. And maybe I'll stay captain. Maybe I'll say, okay, give it to someone else. I don't know, but I don't know if my team will let me be captain again. They want to capture me too much, so. But no, it was a really good experience, and I love being part of this community. And it was the fact that they gave me that opportunity to do that. So
nice. Hey, see you indeed next year in Houston, Texas. Thank you so much for this chance to have a chat, Lauryn. It has been a pleasure and an honor. Very interesting stuff, and I hope also will be useful for the listeners.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm welcome to. I'll come back and talk about anything else you want to talk about. Keep me in mind.
I will.
It was great chatting with you. Thanks.
And that's a wrap up for first episode of Buhurt People. I hope you found it interesting and perhaps useful. If you did, please consider giving a thumbs up and subscribing. And let me know down in the comments who would you like to see next. See you next time.